GM, buenos dias, Buenos Aires. GM, say it back. All right. So wonderful to see all of you guys. Thank you so much for joining me today for a little discussion of how we can have some more fun in Web3 with our keys. My name is Evin McMullen. Let's see. There we go. I am the co-founder and CEO of Disco, your identity for the metaverse. And so if you want to drop me a line, I would love to hear about all of your metaverse dreams and the things that you want to build together. So first, before we talk about fun in our modern era, I want to provide us with a little bit of a history lesson. Back in the Song Dynasty, we had the earliest instances of immersive, multifaceted fun with the invention of fireworks. First off, fireworks were created to ward off evil spirits, but the monks had so much fun blowing up tubes of bamboo that they decided to add colors, add delight, and create the first of what we might call a metaverse, an escapist environment where we could merely enjoy ourselves and focus on shared experiences. Later on, the development of such immersive, persistent, fantastical worlds led to the creation of things like fun fairs. Similar to fireworks shows, fun fairs utilize technology to create an otherworldly experience focused on shared delight. However, unlike the metaverses that we enjoy today, these experiences were not especially personalized. It was a single, persistent environment in which everybody could share, but nothing was responsive to any given individual. Escapism was at the root. This importance of thinking about our value and our shared experiences beyond our own mortality. And so the birth of modern fun was born, out of hardship and innovation. Around the time of the invention of the fun fair that preceded things like the World's Fairs, the Industrial Revolution in Paris brought many people into cities, into poverty, into hardship, into an outbreak even of disease. But the ability to provide or to seek out an environment where all of these difficulties washed away led to a stream of new kinds of inventions, new kinds of things like rides and plays, the ability to bring technology exclusively for delight. So when we think about how hardship and complexity have wrought more personalized experiences, persistent metaverses, we can think of a more modern example that most of us are probably familiar with. Around 2008, on the heels of the last global financial meltdown, Facebook, Twitter, and MySpace were heating up, solving for social discovery, allowing us to enter persistent environments of delight, but ones that could respond to us. Ones where we were indeed the product, matching our desire for delightful experiences with a consistent and expected supply. However, as well we know, this predatory economic model turned us into the product. So we got a lot better at having the types of fun that we were looking for because these platforms could respond to us, but we still have not yet unlocked the full possibility of what we can do with technology and our pursuit of delight. So now that we've thought a little bit about the history of fun using technology to create environments of escapism, let's settle on our definition of Web3. I'm sure many people in this room have a different view of what that could be, but for purposes of this conversation, we think of Web3 as the world of adventures made possible with self-custody of private keys from our public blockchains. So what does Web3 fun even mean right now, where we are with these public ledgers and our ability to own and control assets? Right now, it means mostly tokens. First, we had ICOs, then we had DeFi, then NFTs, then we started coordinating around these public financial assets with DAOs. But if the only thing I know about you is your Ethereum address, the only kind of fun we can have together is coordinating treasury allocation, spending money together. And as we know from history, plutocracy threatens emerging markets. And as in many physical instances in the world, so too does token-weighted voting and plutocratic organization in Web3 threaten our ability to flourish. Also, vibes require more than money. If we're at a party full of other degens and the only thing that we know about one another is our public addresses, then the only thing we can coordinate around are financial assets. It's like walking into a party where you can only introduce yourself with your bank account. You know, hello, CryptoPunk. Hello, 2 ETH. This conversation sucks. And so if we want to have more fun together, if we want to enjoy the kind of personalized experience and positive UX that we have in Web 2, we need to know more about one another. What kind of music do you like? Who are you friends with? Are you accountable? These kinds of things will help us coordinate more interesting games together than just spending money. Your crypto wallet represents a collection of token IDs mapped to it publicly, which, as we know, are financial assets for everyone on Earth and in space with an internet connection to see for all time. But in the inimitable words of Tyler Durden in the movie Fight Club, you are not your job. You're not how much money you have in the bank. You are not the car you drive. You are not the contents of your wallet. Your traits and preferences are not public, they're not permanent, because we are human beings who change and evolve. And so your private experiences cannot be made available for sale to the highest bidder like your NFTs can. Sorry to Fred Ursum, who thinks that your crypto wallet is your future digital you, but as a billionaire, maybe his wallet opens up the world of fun to him in a way that the rest of ours might not. Fun can be for everyone and should be for everyone, regardless of location, socioeconomic status, or technical ability. We all spend an insane amount of time online, especially as we note down here in Argentina, the average person is spending a little over around 7 hours a day online. Now, despite our Web3 enthusiasm for, venture capital funded experiences, for enterprises that consume our data, and for think boy Twitter threads alike, we in Web3 have not yet reached the apex of what we can coordinate together because we are relying so hard on traditional social platforms to coordinate our amusement. From Instagram and TikTok, YouTube, and Pinterest, we are leaning even harder on Web 2 tooling to allow us to gather and engage with one another in this Web 3 ecosystem. If we think about DAOs, we think about token-based communities, we rely on a pretty centralized stack between Twitter, Discord, Snapchat, Google Drive, et cetera. So are we repeating this cycle of surveillance capitalism in Web 3 when we lean too hard on tools that consume our data and turn us into products? Are we repeating these cycles between ICOs and DeFi and NFTs where we are amusing the dopamine requirements of speculators but not building a truly fun experience? So if we start off with the shared enjoyment that we might want to pursue instead of the financial assets that drew us to the table, what can that look like? I think it is the responsibility of everyone in this room to build tools for fun so that we do not return to the tools of our surveillance state to get our vibes. Enter Social Summer, where we are right now. So in Web3 social, we're seeing all kinds of alternatives to the centralized platforms that we're used to pop up, with immutable social graphs and mountains of Discord channels filled up with spam. But in Web3, we have the opportunity to reclaim our identities, to enable them with true ownership by our public blockchain key pairs, and to logically centralize and physically decentralize where the data that describes us lives. So if we want to rely upon our existing Web3 public infrastructure to make good on this promise and mimic the amazing experiences that we can enjoy in Web 2 without all of the creepy Mark Zuckerberg overlording, then we have the opportunity to leverage our tools for more than public data. We have the opportunity to avoid strengthening the surveillance state by freely creating a social graph available to all. in accordance with our ownership and our consent as individuals. This means that we need to look beyond the chain, where 99% of the data that describes us already lives, where most of our interactions already occur. Because as long as Ethereum is not the only API upon which humanity relies, it is not appropriate to put the data that describes us, the data that coordinates our fun, on such a platform. So a little bit of an alpha alert, a reminder that our keys can do more than sign public financial transactions. We are not yet leveraging the full self-custody capabilities of Web3 because, as we discussed earlier, we are leaning pretty hard on Web2 tooling to enable our token-based experiences. But now we can use our existing private keys to sign private data written about ourselves that can be owned and controlled by us in the same way that we own and control our financial tokens. Just because I get my keys from a blockchain doesn't mean I have to use that blockchain to communicate with other parties, to communicate with the signed messages that I want to share. And fortunately, because of updates to the Ethereum protocol like EIP 712 that governs signed type data last fall, now I, an Ethereum address, can write a statement about you, a Bitcoin address, and you can share it with a PGP key, a DNS record, a Solana address, and we can all be on the same page without the need for gas fees, for waiting for block time, for the complexity of bridges. So what does this mean practically speaking? Right now, if I'm relying on my key pair to express myself, let's say I'm using a wallet like MetaMask, really all I can do is show you what I'm up to on-chain. You can see the tokens that I own, the NFTs that I have, the public financial transactions that I've participated in. But I am more than my wallet. I am more than my financial assets. I am a whole person with affinities and experiences, accountability, friends, and preferences. And the public chain does not allow me to meaningfully share that information with the world, to coordinate with all of you, to do more fun things like design products or throw parties. But if I think about the rest of the data that makes me, me, that makes you, you, it's not going to be persistent and public and permanent in the way that financial assets need to be. Without public immutability and transferability, we can focus on the true meaning of individualism, our ability to curate, private traits, to change and evolve, and to share these under our consent and control. From your coffee order to your gym membership, your credit score to your KYC credentials, even things like your genomic data and your gaming habits. The whole world doesn't necessarily need to know this information, and indeed, it can be a lot more fun if they don't. And so if we start using our private keys to control more than money, if we're able to wield our personalities in Web3 with just as much complexity and richness as we can in the real world, then we can start to coordinate a lot more fun together. At Disco, our definition of the metaverse is your ability to show up in any digital or physical environment and receive a personalized experience as a result of the parts of yourself that you choose to share. That means that you need to be able to express a lot more than that financial data. Just on the last slide, you are able to share the entirety of yourself in a context that's going to be appropriate for you and your interactions. Web3 should no longer just be a stuffy diversion of the technically hyper-literate. We must make it accessible to the average person everywhere, which means definancializing the way that we interact and the way that we view the opportunities in this landscape. We need to focus more on fun and delight instead of just gathering around public financial assets. And so, when we think about all the other people who aren't here in the room with us today, we need to welcome them in a way that is a low or no cost onboarding into a world of data that can more effectively capture the full human experience. We need data that can move seamlessly between chains without bridges and gas fees, and we need to avoid platform lock-in and manage risk by making our data interoperable and supporting a plurality of providers, platforms, chains, and ecosystems instead of binding ourselves to a single chain and to persistent publicity. We can maximize consent by sharing our data only on a need-to-know basis in a form that can evolve. So at Disco, we think a lot about, what is a corollary to your wallet? If your wallet is for public financial assets, then maybe your backpack is for all of the rest of the stuff you need to adventure through the metaverse. At Disco, your data backpack can carry verifiable statements, credentials written about you, encrypted against your keys in a way that you own and control. These signed attestations, JSON blobs made to look like the JPEGs with which we're very familiar and can already self-custody, can describe any facet of you, from your membership in a community, your presence in a given space. But like a diploma, once it's written about you, it's always written about you, because your experiences and your capabilities are not available for sale and cannot be transferred to others if they are natively about you. So our ability to revoke and expire such credentials that can still interact with smart contracts, that can still interact with a broad variety of keys, can give us the flexibility that we need to have more fun together in the metaverse. From age verification to receipts and proofs of purchase, we can interact with more of the Web2 and IRL spaces that currently can't engage with our public blockchains or, quite frankly, are not well suited to do so. We can use our existing private keys to sign data written about ourselves and others and share in a common language across blockchains to coordinate these kinds of activities. These are the soul-bound NFTs that you've been looking for. So Disco profiles enable you to take custody of your own data, to put it in your backpack, to share it with others, and to manage these independently verifiable proofs across Web 2 and across Web 3. We've known the importance and value of our data for many years, but we've been renting space on the internet by allowing centralized entities to bear the weight and responsibility for the management, protection, storage, and frictionless experiences enabled by that information. In order to move beyond Web 2 infrastructure from building Web 3 Discord to a totally new kind of social experience that will transcend the platforms that we've been promised, we need to escape platform lock-in, logically centralize around ourselves, and physically decentralize data in the places where it makes sense. Because the atomic unit of Web 3 is not a token. It's not a wallet address. It's not a platform. It is a person. It is important that we remember this when we are building human coordination tools, because so often we forget to center the experiences we create on human beings. When you show up to, Lens Protocol, to Uniswap, to Boys Club, to ETHLatam, you are the same person, even though you might be using different identifiers, different wallet addresses. And so in order to coordinate things that are truly fun and personalized to us, we must reflect the entirety of ourselves, not just one particular facet of our public identity. So like a physical backpack, Disco is building this tool with the goal of supporting you to get out into the world. We want your ability to collect experiences, memories, accomplishments, and moments that make you uniquely you, and shorten the time between setup and onboarding and getting on with your adventure, from claiming your POAP to getting into the party, not to keep you trapped staring into the nightmare rectangle any longer than you need to. So we can't wait to see your data backpacks filled to the brim with all of the things that will make your life more frictionless, vibey, and fun. If you are excited about coordinating fun in the metaverse, if you're excited about reaching beyond the Ethereum community and integrating more than just our financial pieces of data together, I am so excited to hear from you what you would like to build. Thank you all so much for joining me today. And if you are stoked on the future of fun, please share your metaverse dreams with us at disco.xyz. I can't wait to hear your wildest imaginations for building a world that prioritizes the human part of human coordination tools. I'm Evin McMullen, and I will see you in the metaverse.